Yeah, forward a little bit. Can people hear me? Wow, maybe not that much forward.
I'm new at this. Okay. Okay, you're gonna have to stoop down.
Okay, there we go. That's better. I think. I think that's good. What do you think? Yeah. So I told Kathy that this is what you get when I spend more time thinking about what I'm going to wear than what I'm speaking about, right? Even to the rose pin. So thank you so much for the rose song. That means so much to me. We sang it at my mom's memorial service many years ago, and it makes me cry almost every time I hear it. So thank you. Let's start, though, today with a little meditation. So just take a moment to remember, indeed, our word for the day was gratitude. And I am willing, we are willing, is the theme for the month. With that in mind, I thought we'd focus on a lesson from A Course in Miracles. I give my life to God to guide today. Now, you don't have to use the word God if that pushes buttons for you. Holy Spirit, or greater power, or Jesus, or Buddha, or Krishna, or anything that calls to mind. There is a greater wisdom than just this little being that I know as myself. So close your eyes if that helps you to remember to focus on who you are. And breathe. Breathe into your heart space, feeling the light and the power and the love that dwells right here within each one of us. I give my life to God to guide today. Spirit, I give you all my thoughts today. I would have none of my own. In place of them, give me your own thoughts. I give you all my acts today as well, that I may follow your will instead of seeking goals which cannot be obtained and wasting time on vain imaginings. Today I come to you. I will step back and merely follow you. Be you the guide, and I the follower who questions not the wisdom of the infinite. Nor love whose tenderness I cannot comprehend, but which is yet your perfect gift to me. I give my life to God to guide today. We breathe again in this wisdom, in this knowledge that as we do this, all power and grace and love are given to us. Another deep breath. We come back into this room, into this life, knowing that indeed we are not separate or alone, but God's love surrounds us and enfolds us every moment. And we say, thank you, it is so. Amen. So are we willing? Are we willing to give our lives to God to guide today? From Metaphysics 2, the quotation is, will is the decision-making, directing, choosing faculty of the mind. It is our capacity to say yes or no to opportunities and options. It is the highest expression of will, is willingness, conscious consent to the will of God. Easy to say, right? Maybe not always so easy to do. Are we willing to see the blessings of our lives instead of challenges? Are we willing to imagine what if an incredible good is coming instead of dire consequences? I can't tell you how many times I've experienced the feeling of, what if somebody's doing something wrong or having problems and our family are presenting challenges out in the world, and my mind immediately goes to what if the very worst thing happens and we have nuclear war or famine or a rift in the family and I never get to see my granddaughters again, or your mind can just play these horrid games of what if and use it as a way of doing only awful stuff. So I'm going to challenge you today to think instead about what if? What if the best can happen? What if the relationship you have with your husband or your wife, your kids, what if it all works together for good? What if you stay married for 50 years? What if somehow you're able to overcome those moments of doubt when you think, my God, I married the wrong person? Oh, those times in your life when you think, oh boy, did I screw up that? And you instead go, what a blessing this has been for me to see the good here, the possibilities here. What could happen if only I make a commitment to doing good, to being the best person I can be? Are we willing to see possibilities? As usual, I had about 12 books of different things, Unity teachers, and a lot of 12 Powers books, because we use the 12 Powers for our themes throughout the year. And this month's theme is will, which I've had a little bit of trouble with sometimes. That's why I wear silver, because, hey, I can do that. I'm not always so sure I can talk about will. But I wanted to read a story from 12 Powers in You. This is an old book about the 12 Powers, and I love this book because it's written by 3 people, 2 of whom are Unity ministers and 1 of whom is a doctor. And they take the Unity powers and they reinterpret it a little bit, and the doctor always has a place in the chapter about where the power is located in you and what it controls physically, and a healing meditation. And will, interestingly enough, controls your respiratory system, which I was surprised at because the chakra for will, or the power center for will, according to Charles Fillmore, is right here on top of the imagination, and your third eye. Will is located. They're very much linked. So will is right at the frontal lobe of your brain. But this story is about a man named Ken Williamson, who was born addicted to heroin because his mother was a heroin addict. From the age of 13, he smoked cigarettes. And despite his unstable family background, he did well in high school, going on to college and becoming a social worker. However, he experimented with and became addicted to numerous illicit drugs. Raging within him was the battle between that part of him that was healthy, positive, productive, loving, and service-oriented, and the part of him that maintained self-destructive desires and actions, his feelings of worthlessness, and the deep pain of his childhood that he tried to dull with drugs. Which one would he choose? Would his will to live and care for himself and others be stronger than his will to destroy himself? I'm sure nobody in this audience can identify with any of this, right? Especially not me. In his late 30s, no longer able to manage his drug habit, he hit bottom and entered a drug treatment program. Here he learned about the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous and about how to turn his own will and power over to a higher power. Slowly, in individual and group counseling and in AA meetings, he came to see how and why he had been committing a slow form of suicide through his use of drugs, alcohol, and tobacco. He stopped using and gave up smoking a year later. Meanwhile, he got married again, and 1 year later, his son was born. He began going to a metaphysically based church where he learned about and began to apply his 12 powers. Previously, he had been suspicious of anything religious or spiritual, and he had perceived himself as being separate from any alleged higher power. Now, through AA, the church, and his study of the world's religions, he came to see himself as a child of God, God who desired only good for him. He continued to transform his life by breathing the divine will into his consciousness. However, his greatest challenge was yet to come. 3 years later, he was diagnosed with lung cancer. A lung cancer that was located primarily in the upper lobe of his right lung and had spread to adjacent lymph nodes. He sought out a cancer specialist who would provide the best possible medical care, but who would also support his other healing efforts through prayer, visualization, hands-on healing, nutritional supplementation, herbal remedies, whatever would enhance his immune system. The oncologist said that Ken had about 20% chance of living 5 years. From the start, Ken held strong to his conviction that God's will for him was harmony and healing. He thought himself as being filled with light and vital healing energy. He visualized his T cells destroying and removing the cancer cells. Not that he didn't have his doubts and dark moments of despair. He questioned why this had happened to him. After he had finally gotten his life back in good order, he wondered if the cancer was simply the result of decades of smoking and other self-abuse through drugs and alcohol. He received no answer other than that he was to marshal all of his energy for the healing process. A surgeon removed the cancerous portion of his lung, and then he underwent 2 series of chemotherapy, after which no cancer was detectable. 6 months later, however, the cancer had returned and spread to additional parts of his body. Conventional chemotherapy was no longer an option. So Ken entered an experimental radical program in which large doses of chemotherapy were used to destroy the cancer cell, but which also destroyed his body's bone marrow and immune system. Therefore, after the chemotherapy, he received a blood transfusion of blood cells from his own bone marrow, which had been extracted and frozen prior to his chemotherapy. From those cells, his immune system grew anew. In the midst of this harrowing experience, Ken prayed fervently to God. Before he had tried to outline how and when his healing would take place, he dearly wished to remain on earth and to be with his physical family. But now he came to a deeper realization that he might die physically, and that his healing might continue after his transition. His death would not be a failure. Rather, he envisioned an ongoingness and believed he could continue his work beyond this present life. His prayer became, "Not my will, Lord, but thy will be done, as to the way and time in which you bring about my healing." Meanwhile, he kept up his spirits, his will to live, by reading inspirational literature, surrounding himself with positive and loving people, finding joy and humor in the small things in his life, sharing openly and lovingly with family and friends, and especially with his wife, who was his greatest supporter. He enlisted the prayer support of numerous prayer groups of different religious denominations, and he exercised daily when possible. Having asked that God's will be done, Ken now felt the inspiration to become a minister. To others, this may have seemed like a foolish thought, a form of denial, but to Ken it was simply the right thing to do. He was not doing this to gain favor with God, to bargain for his healing. Rather, he simply knew from within that this was his calling, that this was Spirit's will for him in his healing journey, and that he was going to live. In yet another life-altering decision, he and his wife went ahead with plans to adopt a child. Ken's guidance turned out to be accurate. Following his radical chemotherapy and recovery, Ken's cancer has not recurred. Moreover, he has become a dynamic, loving minister and parent. Repeatedly, he has shared his extraordinary story of healing with others who have so-called incurable illnesses, inspiring them to turn within and to express their 12 powers in conjunction with utilizing the best of all available treatments. Not my will, but thy will be done. So are we willing to see blessings instead of challenges? Are we willing to imagine what if incredible good happens instead of dire consequences? Again, will is the decision-making, directing, choosing faculty of the mind. It is the capacity to say yes or no, to opportunities and options. It is the highest expression of, or the highest expression of will is willingness, conscious consent to the will of God. Linda Martella Whitsett's book, Divine Audacity, also explores all the 12 powers, and she breaks will down into 3 parts. The first part of will is our choice. We choose something. The first part is choice. And we all made the choice to be here at Unity of Missoula today. Some of us, a few of us are here for the first time. Maybe not Michael Bouchard, but even though he raised his hand. But we chose that we wanted to come to hear the message that's happening here at Unity of Missoula today. We made a choice. The second part of will is to make a commitment. My commitment places me on a particular path, gives me intentional action. I devote myself to this one path. So not only have we made a commitment to be here at Unity of Missoula, or made a choice to be here at Unity of Missoula, many of us have chosen to write a commitment that I am willing to be a member of Unity of Missoula. We have decided that this spiritual community calls to us in ways that no other spiritual community perhaps is called, or perhaps we just feel like we found our tribe, our pack. I think Unity of Missoula offers a great deal besides the Sunday service, because we have classes and book groups, we have study groups, we have online services. One of the best things I think we do is the prayer service, the prayer circle. I really, truly believe in the power of prayer. And so we've made a commitment to be a part of Unity of Missoula. A lot of people have made that commitment to bring food on Sundays, to help with yard work, to give money, tithes, extra donations, all to make sure that the doors of this church stay open, that we serve all the people who come through the doors, that we are here, we keep the lights on, the fans going, the heat in the wintertime. We have people who've committed lots and lots and lots of hours to making sure the lawn gets mowed, the pine needles get raked up, the sidewalks get swept, the facility, the toilets get unplugged. You name it, we have people who have made that commitment. And it's wonderful. I just love that we have a family that's willing to do that. I love that I can come in here on a Sunday and maybe I'm celebrating a birthday or an anniversary and I have a family of people here who are willing to celebrate with me. I have a family here that when I tell them that I have to go to the hospital or I need some help with something in my house, there are people that will say, hey, I've got time, I can come help. There are some things that we would like to see. We've been talking a little bit about instituting small group ministries, having 8-week classes in meditation, 8-week classes in healing arts, 8-week groups for people to get together and go out to dinner, 8-week groups for hiking or walking. We're looking at the possibility of expanding a little bit. And at the same time, we are committed to seeing that indeed we are a powerful community. That not only do we come on Sundays because we want to hear the speaker, but we also want to come and support the musicians. We want to support the people that start in the prayer services. We want to support what goes on in this community. And that's what commitment is. And the final piece of commitment, or of will, the final piece of will is willingness. Earlier this month, we talked a lot about will and am I willing. Michael Panique talked last week about am I willing, and he went over the 5 principles, the 5 basic tenets of unity, and how he was willing to use them in his life, and what it meant to be willing to realize that there is God, there is only God. God is the only power, God the good. So are we willing is the theme that the Speakers Committee set up. Are we willing to do this? Willingness is the fuel that makes commitment possible. It is the antidote to willfulness. Willingness is a state of allowing. Linda Martella Whitsett tells a story about, in this book, she talks a lot about how she was thinking that she wanted to become a unity minister. And she had her whole life all set up. So she and her husband were living in Omaha, where he was stationed with the Air Force. And it was a fair drive to Unity Village, where she would have to go to be a minister, get her ministerial training, take the classes. And so she set it up. He was going to stay home in Omaha with the kids, and she was going to go to Unity Village for classes, and she was going to commute every weekend, so she'd be back in Omaha. And she was gung-ho. She knew this was her path. She was going to be a unity minister. Well, lo and behold, when she applied, she got through all the application process, not a problem. When she went for the interview, she was told, no, it's not your time to come to Unity for ministerial training. I've known other people who have been told, no, it's not for you to be a unity minister, which shocks me when I think of Linda Martella Whitsett, because she's a dynamo minister. But she went back home to Omaha, and her oldest daughter had a mental health crisis. And Linda spent at least the next 6 months to a year helping her daughter in and out of hospitals, in and out of treatments, in and out of, all kinds of drug therapies. And she realized that while it had been her will to do the ministerial path, it was obviously not yet time. And so a couple years later, when both of their kids were out of the house and were established in their lives, she applied again for Unity Ministerial School, and this time was accepted, and this time her husband was retired and able to move with her to Missouri. So it all worked out. But it just is so interesting to me how our will, sometimes we think we're ready and maybe it's not quite the right time yet. It's time to step back and just allow, be willing to allow things to unfold. I found that definitely in my life as well. And I think it's so interesting. We have people in this church who have been so willing to do all kinds of things. They do it quietly, like Bill DeCoo, who just did incredible work with building sidewalks and digging trenches at the end of our parking lot, so we quit having a big, huge lake at the end of the alley. Bill did that without saying a word to anybody, just came over here and did digging. I don't know if he called Roger occasionally. No. I know he called Roger, and Roger called my son Patrick when they put down cement at the end of the back steps. So there's all kinds of things like that happen. Linda Lynn, who keeps all the supplies for hospitality in order and flowing. And our prayer chaplains. I'm just amazed. We have a prayer chaplain who goes at least once a month to visit somebody, one of our parishioners who's in a nursing home and can't get out anymore. We have another prayer chaplain who goes and helps she and her husband with some household things that can't be done by a person in the community who can't get here. We have another prayer chaplain who travels a couple of times a year to visit a parishioner in prison in Deer Lodge. I mean, we have incredible acts of service happening in this community that are not talked about or acknowledged. But it is just such a gift, the ways that we take care of one another. I am so blessed. There was a story in Unity magazine this month about, written by a woman who is a Unity minister about a time. She was, I believe, maybe a prayer chaplain. And the prayer chaplains, for those of you who don't know it, if you're a member of Unity, you get a phone call every month from your prayer chaplain asking if you'd like prayer support. And you can say yes or no, or leave me a message, or they will sometimes just automatically leave a message and you can call them back. But the prayer chaplains do support you with prayers throughout the month. They also let our prayer circle know of all the people who are in need of prayers because they're having surgery or having health challenges or financial challenges and all kinds of other things that happen to, the human condition, as it's called. So this woman who wrote this article had befriended a person and prayed with them frequently. The person got in a lot of trouble and came to her prayer chaplain and said, "I'm going to be sent to prison. Will you come with me?" And the prayer chaplain was like, "Wait a minute, did I sign up for this? Is this really what I made a commitment to do?" I mean, I never in my, darkest imaginings thought I would walk through the doors of a prison, let alone, have to go through all the stuff that you have to go through to get into the prison. But she looked at the woman and said, of course I will come with you." And so she did. She made a commitment. This woman had been sentenced to life in prison. And the Unity prayer chaplain said, "I will be there. I will come visit you at least once a month. I will write you as I can. I will hold you in my heart in prayer every single day." She made that commitment to be there for that person. Now, I'm not asking any of the rest of us to make this kind of commitment, but as a member of the Unity Speakers Committee and the theme of "Are we willing?", I'm challenging you to maybe be willing to make a commitment to this spiritual community. That at somehow, some part of your life, this community has made a difference for you. The Unity Path, well, I have to backtrack a little bit. Sorry. There is a story, there is a quote from Matthew about the narrow gate and the wide gate. Let's see if I can find it here. Yeah. I devote myself to one path. So in Matthew, he talks about many are the people who choose to do, well, here, I'll read it. Enter through the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the road is easy that leads to destruction, and there are many who may take it. For the gate is narrow and the road is hard that leads to life, and there are few that find it. This is Matthew chapter 7, verse 13 and 14. I'm going to just read you from Linda Martellowitz said about this. Fundamentalist interpreters of this Bible passage suggest that Jesus' message is about heaven and hell. For example, you'll go to heaven if you follow the strict precepts of your Christian religion, and you'll go to hell if you do not. Consider instead the wisdom in this passage regarding the way we are living here and now. Jesus suggests that our life energy becomes scattered when our attention is unfocused and aimless, leading to self-destructive action. The narrow gate indicates selective attention. The hard road admits the human challenge of remaining centered and returning to the path when we have detoured. What is the narrow gate? For Christians, the narrow gate is devotion to Jesus and his teachings. To Taoists, it is the Tao. For Unity students, it is prayer and meditation, study and service. For all of us, the path is the plan we discern as the route to fulfilling our sense of purpose. And so for those of us who have made the commitment and we are willing, I'm just asking you, are you ready to demonstrate a little more willingness? Are you ready to spend time every day in prayer and meditation? Are you willing to pick up some of the Unity books and study them? And are you willing to be of service to this, our community? We have lots of places that I'd like to see reinstituted or reconstructed. One of them is the Helping Hands Committee, which used to send people birthday cards and anniversary cards and get well cards and or provide meals for people who were hospitalized and otherwise. I've mentioned that we always need help with yard care, building care. I'd love to have more people on our prayer circle. And of course, our finances. We've come through the last year, I think, in pretty darn good shape, given all the challenges that we've had, the number of people who have been major donors who are no longer able to be here. And I just think it's wonderful that we have not really even totally wiped out our savings account. We still have money in savings, money in the bank. And we still have a core group of people who give every Sunday. And it's wonderful. I'm just so happy. The one big piece that I think we could all do that we don't do because we're so afraid of being accused of proselytizing, that is telling our friends, hey, I have this great community that I just love. We have so much fun at book group. We just laugh and laugh and laugh, and I just love it if you could come and join us. We have such a great time meditating on Thursdays. It's 20 minutes of silence, and yet it just fills my heart every week I'm able to be here. We just have such a good time after the service on Sunday, eating together and laughing together and loving each other. We are so blessed as this community. It's too bad we've hidden it under the barrel for so long. Anyway, wrapping up. This is a quote from Linda Martello Whitsett, a commitment. I will be a blessing to others. I will be the light of the world. I am willing. I am committed. I promise. So with that, let's say together our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. We are the light. The love of God enfolds us. We are the love. The power of God protects us. We are the power. The presence of God watches over us. We are the presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. We are one. So let's stand and join hands for our